It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News. We've got a strange setup this morning, which I'm trying to fix out. As you can tell from the screen there was a little messed up. Anyway, welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 21st day of July. Coming to you from Bedford County in Central Virginia on another hot summer day. It's going to be up in the 90s again here today. We have a special guest this morning, which I'm going to get to in just a second. But first, I do have one quick news story that I want to bring to you before I bring our guests on. And that has to do with our friends over at Bahamas Paradise. Bahamas Paradise announced that to show its gratitude to essential workers for their dedication and service during COVID-19 pandemic, it's launched a new program called Hometown Heroes Initiative. Essential workers across the United States can book a free escape to Grand Bahama Island departing between tomorrow and September 30th, with a second guest who will pay a special price of $129. So for $129, two people get a cruise to Grand Bahama Island from our friends at Bahama Paradise. All right, our guest today, with the news that broke yesterday about MSC Meraviglia completing their test cruise, I wanted to get somebody that knows more about MSC than I do. And our guest today is Randy Lowrance, he actually lives out in Bronson, Missouri. He's a travel agent for See the World Travel and Cruises, and he also runs a mobile RV repair business. So the man is busy as heck. But anyway, Randy is our guest this morning. Randy, welcome to Chillie Chats.
Well, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on your show. I've never done this before, so I might be a little nervous.
Well, I promise not to bite. And if I do, it's a little bit difficult for me to bite at you when you're all the way out there in Missouri. Now, you'll find that I'm a little bit of a flake. By the way, to explain to my viewers, we've got a whole bunch of them. It's already over here in the chat room. We have audio only with Randy today. We don't have video, which actually is what I've been trying to get through. John and I have been trying to get through to Martin over there in England sometimes, that he needs to go audio only instead of having bad streams. But anyway, Randy's with us audio only today. If you have any questions, drop them in and I'll pass them on to Randy. Okay, with the Meraviglia coming out of the test cruise yesterday, they're getting ready to sail on August 2nd out of Miami. I have to ask you the tough question about MSC first. The first handful of cruises, they're not requiring vaccinations. What do you know that MSC is going to do to keep the passengers safe?
Well, this is a ongoing, daily changing process. At this point, I don't think they have really come forth with. I asked my BDM this morning and he had no news of it. So I think they're scrambling to get back in business. He actually was headed to the office in Fort Lauderdale for the first time since the pandemic started. So this is going to be a process to get all this. They've got the approval, so now they can fine tune. You know, they've been running Bellissima out of Genoa, Italy since last August. And they were very strict with their protocols and had great results. So they've had a lot of practice doing this. And I think I'm very confident they're on top of it. And I'm like everybody else. And we're actually going to a christening of MSC Seashore in November. And I would expect to know the final protocols for our February trip then. But this is changing daily. I really don't have all the answers on that, and I'm not sure some of them even have all the answers, because they're trying to plug everything in to make this work and make everybody happy and safe. But the MSC's top priority is safety of passengers. On any ship, you will see that 200%. So I'm confident they're going to do everything in their power to make everybody safe.
You've been on, what did you tell me, 16 MSC cruises?
Yes.
Okay. The cruise experience on an MSC ship is different than many Americans are used to that have traveled on Carnival or Royal Caribbean or NCL, or it's a different experience. Tell us how.
Well, the first thing is MSC is the only privately owned cruise line in the world. So it's owned by the Aponte family, which originated out of Sorrento, Italy. And their main philosophy for the ship is family friendly. And with that comment, I don't want people to be scared that there's kids running around all over the place when they go, because they have an extensive program for kids on the ships. And most of the time you don't even see them, because they're so involved with what they do. They have their own swim pool, the restaurant, and so they take care of them. So the whole cruise experience is family oriented. It's not going to be like a Carnival ship. They are very strict with, especially with the children. They give them little plastic bracelets to wear, and they're actually doing that with some of these. And I know they were doing it in Europe, but each passenger got that wrist bracelet, and if they were tested positive, they track by this bracelet, so they could actually go back and check where you were to see what contacts you had with other people, so they could contact tracing would be easier to do. But the children are required to wear that, so you would know where your child is at all times. And especially on these new ships, they're the smarter ones with all the computerized stuff and all that. You could actually, I think it's for a little fee, you could get on your phone and you could see where your child is at any point on that cruise. You could be at the pool, they could be at the restaurant, and you know exactly where they're at. Okay. So that's one big difference. The main philosophy of MSC when they come to the U.S. with Davina in 12 was they wanted to give you the Mediterranean experience without going to the Mediterranean. It was a bit of a struggle because Americans weren't ready for European food. So they have changed to try to keep both tastes on the ship. But the whole flair of it's going to be European style, which a lot of people enjoy because they don't necessarily want to go to Europe, but they get a taste of what with Italian foods and stuff like that. That's another one of the big things. They run very tight ships. They're actually the cleanest ships we've ever been on. You could eat off the floor anywhere at any time. I don't recommend doing that, but it's just an example of how clean these things are. And that's one of our priorities when we book a group is cleanliness, the equipment, and the pricing. And that's why MSC, that's strictly who we use unless we're doing areas that they're not doing. We'll use NCL, maybe sometimes Royal Caribbean, but usually it's Norwegian.
My guest today is Randy Lowrance from talking about MSC Cruises. I think Randy probably knows as much about MSC as anybody in the United States.
I don't know about that.
Real quickly, let me run down the chat while I've stopped here. Good morning to Jason. Good morning, Cindy, Gretchen, Amy. Jason says hello to everybody and says, don't be nervous, Randy.
Did I lose you? Hello?
There we go.
There you are.
Wow. I clicked myself out of my own stream. Now, how's that for screwing up?
Well, that made me less nervous.
Yeah, I screw things up almost every day. Something gets a foul. I did one whole show here in the last week and had no audio, none. And these guys were all in the chat room trying to scream at me that I had no audio, and I didn't even glance over at the chat room while we were going through it. Anyways, Jason says my audio is fine. Amy says she had one experience with Meraviglia 2 years ago in Europe. It was wonderful. I'd love to try all different lines. Nikki's with us down in Jacksonville. Hey, Nick. Emily's with us up in New York. So we got a nice crowd in here chatting away.
Well, welcome, everybody.
Cindy says, I like MSC Status Match program. Almost went on the Divina, was packed and ready, but it was in March 2020, and we all know what happened then. Yes, I lost my MSC cruise last summer.
Enjoy Divina. We've done it 5 times.
Wow.
It's a beautiful ship.
All right, we've got Meraviglia starting in a couple weeks. August 2nd out of Miami.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And then
3 and 4 day, and then their 7-night will be starting on September 16th from Orlando.
Right. And Divina starts on September 16th out of Port Canaveral also, right?
Yes, and that'll be the first time MSC has started out of Orlando. They're generally Miami, so they're branching out to Orlando. Yeah.
Now, there's still floating around out there somewhere in all this scheduling is Harmonia and Seashore. Do you have any information on when those are planning on starting in the States?
Well, our Harmonia actually was brought over for the Cuban market.
Right.
So I think that one's still on the fence as to what actually they're going to do with it unless they get the Cuban market back. A lot of cruise lines invested millions of dollars in the Cuban market to just suddenly stop.
Yeah.
So I think they're probably holding with that. They were talking about doing it out of Tampa. Then, because it is one of their smaller, older ship, their emphasis is on their big ones. And like Seashore is supposed to be here in November. It's actually got a 2-week delay from finalization because of the ability to get raw materials in. Everything there's hard to get, so it's a 2-week delay on delivery of it, but it is still supposed to be here in November. The christening is November, I want to say 12th or 18th, something like 18th, I believe.
Okay.
And then it'll be here for the winter. But that particular ship, when it is done, is a $1.02 billion ship.
Wow.
So she is, and every inch of it is detailed, and that's what's hard to describe to people unless they actually go on one and see it. You can imagine being made in Europe with Italians and French. It's all granite, tile, marble, chrome, and they shine 24 hours a day on that stuff to keep it looking that good. So they're very impressive ships.
One of the important things to me, of course, I'm a big fat guy, so food is always important. You touched on that a little bit. The other thing that's real important to me is the bar.
Yep.
I've got a picture up right now of the Edge bar on the Meraviglia, and one of the bartenders mixing. I can't tell for sure what he's mixing. But anyway, tell us about bar service and drinks packages and whether they're good, bad, or indifferent on MSC.
Well, drink packages, of course, are on all ships. at one time, MSC had, if you booked, they have different categories of cabins. If you got a Fantastica cabin or up, you would actually get a coupon book that had 12 coupons in it for drinks. And it worked wonderful. It was actually a selling tool. Because with most people, that will cover them for a week. Now, you've got the serious drinkers, and I've had some that it's like, how can you drink that much? But they do. So they do have the packages for it. Like for an example, our February trip, the pricing of that includes their easy drink package, which is all drinks up to $6. So it'll be beer, select wines, soft drinks, water, some mixed drinks, and then you can pay the difference and upgrade. There's 2 other steps up. One is a premium where it covers everything. But they pretty much have a non-alcoholic drink package. They have a kids drink package. So they can pretty well tailor it to you, whatever you want. I believe Meraviglia had, and don't quote me on this, I'm just pulling it off the top of my head, I thought they had 18 bars or something like that. So you don't have to walk very far to get a drink.
I tell you what, I'm going to take, I think it's 10 seconds. I've got a little clip, and I think it flashes up right at the top on how many bars it is. I'm going to play this. It takes, I think it's 10, 15 seconds. So we'll be back in a second. Yeah, no, it was cabins, decks, and something else. It didn't say, I thought it said bars, but it doesn't. I don't remember the number either. I know there's a bunch.
There's a bunch.
Entertainment on MSC ships. Good, bad, or ugly?
Well, you have to remember, I'm from Branson, Missouri. We have theaters everywhere here. So it's a show for us. It has to be pretty good to impress us. They have very good shows on there. I believe on Seashore, they're going to change the scheduling of the shows to be 30 minutes long instead of an hour. So everyone can have access to it instead of just early or late seating, which is nice because most people through an hour, honestly, I have slept through half of some of them because you're so tired from the day. So a half hour is pretty good for that, but they have a lot of acrobatics. They are an Italian company. You might get an opera song or two in there. Americans aren't really that excited about opera, but you got to remember that this is an Italian company, but the shows are very good. The seating in the theaters are gorgeous. The seats are actually offset, so the guy in front of you won't have a big head staring. You're staring in the back of. So they have large theaters, and I know on Divina, if I remember right, that you could not take drinks or food into the theater, which is kind of nice because you get in there and you'll get seated. And then the one in the middle wants a drink right before the show starts. So here comes the waiter coming through everybody. So it kind of gets rid of the disruption of bartending. Now, I don't know whether all the ships are going to do that, but I know Divina was at one time.
Yeah. My guest today is Randy Lowrance from See the World Travel and Cruises in Branson, Missouri. And I'd like to welcome aboard here Hot Air Tom is back with us. He was trying to figure out who was talking since it wasn't me. Amy says the let me go back and catch that because see if I can do this without cutting me out of this stream. Amy says the Meraviglia had buzzers on the tables in the buffet so you could buzz and have a waiter come over and take your drink order. Yep. Nice.
They also had assigned handicap tables, which is unusual on a cruise ship.
Right.
They were very ADA compliant, which a lot of my customers, that's an issue. So that's one thing we look at also. But they're very, very attentive to the ADA market.
Well, I'm one of them. So that's also something that I look at very closely. So the private island, I guess
Beautiful.
you've been there.
Yes, sir.
It looks to me to be awesome. I've not been there yet, but it looks like it's they've done a very nice job.
And this is kind of gives an idea of how MSC stands on the environment and the green initiative. That private island was actually a dump. That's where they dumped chunks of steel and everything. They just kind of used it to get rid of stuff. They cleaned that off. They're rebuilding the reefs, and they have done a lot of work. It's a gorgeous island. The advantage of this one is there's only one ship at a time. So unlike we've been on Norwegians before where there are 3 or 4 ships there.
Right.
So we had a stretch of beach. There probably wasn't anybody within 40 yards of us either side. So you can kind of get your own beach. They have a lot of beach area. And they're going to be adding to it every year. The only problem that can tend to have with that island is that because they will not enlarge the reef any for ships, so it's very tight to get a big ship in, and if it's a windy day, then that's a problem.
Yeah,
I've talked to them about tendering. They haven't went that route yet, but they need to utilize that island 100% because some cruises have had to skip the island because of high winds, because those ships are pretty much helpless in a high wind.
Right.
But it's getting more and more unusual, but hopefully they will address that part of it. But I think they're even planning on some where they overnight on the island. Now, the private islands are nice because in the times now, that is a safe place. They know where everybody's at. You don't have to worry about, like getting off in Belize or Honduras, keep an eye on your billfold, stuff like that. So that's why we enjoy private islands, because they're safe. We know where all of our people are, and everybody just has fun. The drink package with MSC that you have on the ship works on the island.
Okay.
And that was an unusual one when they come up with it too, because a lot of times you had to pay for drinks and everything off the ship. So, I recommend everybody see it. It's gorgeous.
It appears from what I've been reading that MSC is going the route of what I call them bubble excursions, at least starting off where you can only go on an MSC excursion as opposed to just getting off and wandering through a town on your own.
Right.
Which is, again, one of the ways of keeping us safe.
Right. And for them to have the availability for a port call, they have to make a concession to the port call that they're not going to spread.
Right.
Give you an example. If you would go to Europe and some of these bigger ports, you might have 10, 12 ships there. We were at the Parthenon one time in Athens, and there must have been 50,000 people there. Well, they don't want you out walking around spreading or contacting. So I can see the bubble excursions for now because it's contained. They know where you've been. They know where you are. And the whole thing is to keep it safe. Now, when they started Bellissima in Genoa, the very first cruise, and the CEO of MSC said, our ships will be so safe, I'm going to be on that first cruise. And he was. And they had a family in Naples, Italy, went on an excursion. They didn't like it, and they hopped off and went shopping and walked back to the ship. When they got back to the ship, their luggage was sitting on the dock.
Yep.
They said, "You're off. You know, we told you this is the way. We don't know where you've been." So I applaud them for holding to the strict standards that they've improvised to get this thing under control so everybody on that ship can have a good cruise.
Well, obviously, MSC was the first to be under literally the world's microscope.
Yep.
And I felt that they were doing it right. So I'm tickled that we're now finally getting back to where we can see it here. I just wish we'd get our overall vaccination status up in this country enough to where, it's
well,
not.
And here is my viewpoint on that. If you want to go cruising, get the shot.
Yep.
Because if you don't, they're all going to follow the same as Royal Caribbean, I think, eventually. There's going to be certain places you can't go. You'll have to wear a mask all the time. You'll have to pay the $150 for testing. You have to provide proof of insurance. Why go through all that? Get the shot.
Yeah, it's so simple.
I'm sitting in an area where we're number one in the United States for infections, and we're probably one of the lowest for getting immunized. And it just is mind-blowing that people don't want to get the shot. There's no chips in it. It's not going to change your DNA. It's regardless of what you see on TV. My wife and I have both had it, and we're still alive and kicking. So I plead to people, get out and get your shots. It shouldn't even be a debate.
I totally agree. Of course, my guys all know that I'm, you're preaching to the choir on that one with me. I totally agree with that.
Well,
as to all my guys.
Is it fair to get on a ship not vaccinated with 1,500, 2,000 people that are, and something happens and then everybody gets quarantined? Is it fair to the people that went the extra mile and got the vaccination,
right,
that they have to be quarantined just like they hadn't got it? So I just plead with people, get your shots. Let's see if we can get this, because we're at a point here in this area where the hospitals are full. They're shipping them to Little Rock, Arkansas, because there is no rooms available here. And this is the variant. This isn't COVID-19. So it's not over. We've got to still do our part. Wear your mask every chance you get when you go in. I don't care if people stare. They stare at me all the time like, well, why didn't you get your shot? Well, I got my shot. I don't know whether you did or not.
Right.
So that's my preaching for the day.
All right. My guest today is Randy Lowrance from Branson, Missouri. Jason says, Chillie, you should go get on a cruise. I agree, Jason. I would love to go get on a cruise. The cruise lines won't let anybody on a cruise ship right now with oxygen. That's just a no-no for them for now. I got no problem with that whatsoever.
Well, let me work on that, Chillie, and I'll let you know.
Yeah. Well, it's just a situation where they've got a lot other things to worry about than having to deal with oxygen on board.
People don't understand what the cruise industry has went through. I know there's been some delays with refunds and stuff like that, and cancellations. Everybody's tired of the cancellations, but the bottom line is a cruise line has to take care of the total number of people, not just a few. So they're doing it for a reason. And they have lost a bunch of money through this thing. So they're the first ones that want to do it right. And we just have to be patient with them. But I'm excited that it's coming back, because I didn't have one this winter and I've been cranky all summer.
Right. I know. I had 6 canceled. So.
Oh man.
I was just
part an email you don't want to read.
Yeah. The Jason says, get the shot and get on a ship.
That's right.
Totally agree, Amen. Jason. You're with it. Jason's getting ready to go on his first celebrity ship here in a couple weeks. All right,
But
Randy.
I do want to touch on that status match for just a little bit that Gal mentioned a little bit ago. MSC, real quick. If you're like Crown and Anchor, Royal Caribbean, Platinum, or whatever level you're at, if you go online and fill out the info that they have you fill out, you would actually get on your first MSC ship with the same status that you're on any other line. And that's a nice little plus there.
Yep. All right. Tell us one, in case some of my guys are looking for a travel agent, tell them how they can get a hold of you.
Okay. Phone number is 417-337-1618. Or you can email at info@seetheworldtravelandcruises.com.
Okay.
I wish that had been shorter.
Yeah, well, that's okay. It's that's still See the World Cruises, See the World Travel and Cruises is something that we all think about. So
there you go.
I'm sure that's going to be remembered, and I will put that in the description of the video, folks. That'll be the link will be in this when I get it all posted. Well, Randy, I just want to thank you a ton for being with me today. I know you're busy with juggling 3 different things at once. But Chillie Chats has enjoyed having you as a guest on travel and cruise industry news. And I'm sure we will probably do this again.
I'd love to. I enjoy talking cruising.
All right. And we'll get back to you when we can. And good luck with your upcoming group cruise on the seashore when she gets here.
Yep.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. I'll be back same time, same place tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time for Travel and Cruise Industry News with Chillie Falls. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie Chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.